I'm very grateful to IUCT and Professor P.N. Singh and Kushagri, you for having thought of me for this purpose. And uh, welcome to all the audiences. I don't know whether you people are offline or online, but we are not going to see each other anyway, only through the virtual mode.
Yeah.
But still, I hope the post lunch session is not very heavy for you and you enjoy whatever little I have to say. So, to begin with, let me just share the slideshow. I have a brief PPT for you. So, this apparently is a 5-day program, and in these 5 days, you will be talking about STEM and more of STEM. So fortunately, I have got the slot in the first half, and I will not be. I mean, I will be taken lightly, I hope. Basically, I have been given the task of talking about the effective pedagogies, how STEM can actually be implemented in the classrooms. We all know that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There's nothing new about it. But what we don't know is how to actually see it take shape in our classrooms, how to actually perform, and what does a teacher do when STEM is in operation. So basically, I will be talking about 6 pedagogies that I have chosen for this lecture. In addition, we will also see why STEM, why it is important to be in league with the with other countries where STEM has been in practice for very long. So uh, let me just proceed. Yes. So basically, STEM has got a lot of need. We know that science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, they form the crux or the basis of all innovations, all developments, all kinds of employment, you know, take root in these subjects. And as a nation which is getting a good repute in the whole world, we will lag behind if our students don't get exposure to these technologies. So fundamentally, India has got a very comfortable position in as far as the network, the accessibility to technology is concerned. But the problem is in the pedagogy part. Our teachers are not well prepared to run it the way it should be run. So basically, if you think about it hard enough, you will realize that technology doesn't drive STEM. Pedagogy is what is responsible. How the teachers, what the teacher does in the classroom decides what form STEM is going to take eventually. So this was a slide just briefly to bring our focus to the changing phase of the society, and that it is there is a need for a high level problem solving skills, and you know uh, and all kinds of whatever, wherever we are leading, because of you know in spite of the wide variety, wide what to say, range of different kinds of um, you know schooling, education systems everywhere, but still we have a cutting edge, we have an edge on others just because of these 2 subjects. Anyway, so now, I would like to just make a brief comparison, because this is where I want to, assert that traditionally we have been teaching science and mathematics, although technology and engineering are the new ones here. But we have been doing so in a way that has been changed entirely through STEM. So the modern strategies and the modern methods of applying STEM in schools or in teaching are entirely different from our traditional methods. These methods basically they are the methods which involve students, which which wherein the main focus is on the engagement of the student. It is entirely student focused, student centered, and the teacher takes a back seat. So fundamentally, we can look at the things in this through this slide. Our traditional method was entirely disciplinary, wherein we were segregated into disciplines. Mathematics teacher taught mathematics, science teacher taught science, history teacher taught history. None of the subjects were there were distinct boundaries between these subjects. Nobody could, you could not surpass that boundary and join hands. Then we moved on to the phase of multidisciplinary, teaching, wherein to some extent the several disciplines ran parallel to each other. So, multidisciplinary still had its own restrictions because the disciplines were there, separate disciplines were there. There was no intermingling of disciplines. But yes, two or more disciplines were going in tandem parallelly to each other. Then came to the interdisciplinary approach. In fact, interdisciplinary approach was a big step. Interdisciplinary approach basically involves the integration of the knowledge, the methods, and the perspectives of different disciplines, and it addresses complex problems. So disciplinary was single subject, in depth, restricted to confined to one discipline, and we have faced a lot of problems. You can see I've got n number of examples to tell you why and how. See, we can take the example of medical sciences. you know uh, we have got specialists for everything. You've got a liver specialist, you've got a heart specialist, you've got an eye specialist, you've got specialists, but we don't have a doctor who can you know who can look at all aspects of your of your well-being or your health and advise you. So it has taken the lives of many people because of the short-sightedness or the restricted view of medical professionals in just their discipline. So there's a big need of crossing over the boundaries of disciplines and getting into the more than the multidisciplinary, the interdisciplinary mode. So multidisciplinary, as I said, it was having more than one discipline working together, but those disciplines still hold their identity. The boundaries are not broken. They work in parallel to other disciplines. Whereas interdisciplinary involves the integration of several disciplines. But another more beautiful scenario arises when we go into the transdisciplinary approach. So transdisciplinary goes beyond interdisciplinary and it breaks down all boundaries, and it becomes you know it becomes so mingled that it creates a holistic and integrated view, and it has got scope for including people beyond the academia as well, just not just experts but also the layperson. So transdisciplinary is the form that STEM education or STEM practices require. So now the question arises, how do we translate this transdisciplinary approach to our classrooms? What is the pedagogy that is required for making a ideal transdisciplinary class? So, if we talk of school education, if now I'm not talking of higher education per se, but I'm talking of the very beginning, the very initiation. How can how can one start with transdisciplinary learning? So I've got a few examples. The first example here is a space exploration project. This is just a project, mind you. But yes, it involves several disciplines. It involves physics, it involves biology, it involves engineering, and it will encourage students to delve into each of these disciplines and ultimately come up with a solution which will involve all these, irrespective of their own boundaries. Their boundaries will be mingled and merged. There will not be any distinct boundaries. The project will be about space exploration. In fact, not just physics, biology, and engineering. You will need textile engineers. If you actually think of a space exploration program, You will need food technologists. What kind of food can be taken to space? What kind of clothing can be taken to space? What kind of, I mean, material sciences people will be there. Everybody will be there. Medical sciences people will be there. So now here is a problem, a project, a space exploration project, which will involve people from a lot of disciplines which had nothing in common. But now there is a problem for which people from all these disciplines will come in together. Likewise, another example is of a an exercise that can be given to students, just like our we have got the Ganges here. Students will be asked to find some solution to this problem, the pollution of the Ganga water. It's a it's a very enduring problem, and it has been, suppose hypothetically, suppose we were to they were to go and analyze and find out some problem uh, with the sample of a part of the river. So here again, they will need to go delve into chemistry, delve into biology, delve into environmental sciences. They'll have to go by the procedural. They'll have to collect water samples, then analyze, then they will have to involve. A lot of things will be there, and these are projects. These are ideas which can be incorporated in the classrooms. The teacher can just make a suggestion that, look, this is the problem, and you proceed and tell me how this can be done. Suggest some methods of improving, instead of doing it the disciplinary way by teaching by the way one teacher teaches air, what pollution or water pollution. Another teacher teaches them biology, the microbes. So they know what is amoeba, they know what are the microbes, they know everything, they know virus. They also know that the geography teacher will tell them about the track, the river, and how the what is the trajectory of the river. Everything they will know, but they will know it in separate quadrants, separate. Their mental mixing will also not be there. Whereas, unfortunately, the problems in life don't come in such compartments. Whenever you have a you actually have to deal with something, that problem will not tell you that, look, I am a physics problem, don't call a chemist or a biologist here. You are a physicist, you will be able to solve it. Never ever does that kind of a thing happen. So in the real world, the real problems come in a jarring way, and you need the inputs from people from different disciplines. And there is no hierarchy, there is no importance, no nothing there. Everybody has to make their own contribution. We need to attend to such problems like that. So why do we train our students in a compartmentalized way if ultimately we are trying to prepare them for the real world, real problems? So that herein comes the relevance of STEM. So STEM is to be used in the in education in such a way that it prepares the learner, number one, to be able to remain focused and to be able to analyze the problem that comes by. Secondly, to be able to find what are the key ingredients, what will be required, whose inputs will be required, sit down, work in a team, collaborate, find a solution and implement that solution. So that should be our aim of preparing young minds. But actually what we land up in being compartmentalized, and we are trying to talk in terms of super specialization. I don't say that is not required, but there has to be a tendency to look at the broader picture, to encompass everything in one and then be able to see. I have yet another example of a STEM camp, some summer camp kind of thing, where the students will be motivated to go see the centers, have an hands-on experiences. In fact, in India, we have got the Atal Tinkering Labs. This picture is about the equipment that the kit, this the kit that all these labs have. So the Atal Innovation Mission basically is a direct application of STEM, but it is yet to be seen what kind of pedagogy they use, how much freedom the students have to access these gadgets, whether they are actually preparing something. It is a very ambitious project, but a lot remains to be seen. Whether they actually get to meet experts, but yes, at least this idea, this provision, and making it available throughout the country, pan India, that is a very good initiative by the government. And tinkering, as the word says, that means chirkhani, playing. So if the students get to see these things, even if there is a manual, if there is some kind of teaching, it's fine. But if they have a they are creative, unspoiled minds. In fact, ill structured is another keyword that is very, very important in terms of for STEM. Structure, when we structure things, we confine, we restrict the minds. We give a negative blow to the creativity of the person. But when things are ill structured, when things are open, then the creative mind is the most active, the most fertile at that time. And then they can think of things. So, our job as teachers is not to give them frameworks or directions or, you know, specific instructions to do certain things. We are not providers of manuals. We are the we we have to facilitate and support the young minds so that they can actually get involved, enjoy, and try hands on things, succeed, fail. Failure is equally important. We have to give them those opportunities. And the whole discussion today, my talk is about some pedagogies that provide that opportunity, and that is where I would like to focus more. Anyway, so these are, I'm sure somewhere somebody will be talking about the Atal Tinkering Labs. I'm not going into much details, but this is a very good initiative, and this is one step ahead towards STEM education. Children in most schools are doing things. They are building up robots. They are making gadgets. They are trying out things. So that is where we are. You remember long time back, somebody had, I don't remember exactly who said, but there was a comment and people took it in a very negative way when he said that. I think it was in context of engineers or in IITians. No, no, not in. I don't know. I don't remember. But somebody had said that 90% graduates are unemployable. So I was trying to look it up for today. I was trying to look it up who said it. I couldn't find it. But then I found this, statement from the youth. Somebody somewhere I found it that National Youth Day, Youth Skills Day, which falls on the 15th of July. So 15th of July 2022, there was this data that 75% of all MBAs, well, we are not concerned with MBAs here, but all MBAs are unemployable. 80% of engineers are unemployable, and 90% of all graduates are unemployable. So all our efforts, actually, in fact, 21% of IITians are also unemployable. So this is a very, very, it's a big wastage. It's a big, big wastage. And all our efforts, all our methods, they are going to, they're not helping us. Well, this is yet another, challenge, yet another example of where STEM can be, wherein you can ask students to develop a solar car or solar panel, make use of things. So the basic idea is that it has to be a student-centered approach where the student locates the problem, finds the problem, develops the research questions, and then proceeds on with the designing of the experiment, and then, and then finally coming to the solution and presenting the solution. So this kind of approach is actually very meaningful and very helpful. So now I come to the main part, which is the responsibility I have taken on myself. I will not talk of. There must be many many pedagogies. In fact, I am a firm believer of the fact that there is these. When we define pedagogies, we are again going against the spirit of STEM. We must, freedom of mind and freedom of action is the soul of STEM. Let the teacher, let the student be free. Don't confine us to particular pedagogies, particular methodologies. But yes, our minds have been trained in such a way that we need categorization to understand things. So this is these are the broad categories, but by no means I mean to say that these are just the six pedagogies for STEM, or that if I can think of something innovative, that will not be considered STEM, pedagogy. And neither do I mean that we cannot make modifications in these pedagogies. What I'm trying to tell you is there are six different forms, six different, entirely different, because they are fundamentally different, and we can do our own input. We can, as teachers with fertile minds, you can add up to these. So let me start up with these pedagogies, and then we'll continue the discussion. So my favorite here, the favorite pedagogy, is the problem-based learning. So problem-based learning, I must have a little bit of my material handy with me because I'd love to talk about this. Yeah. Yes. So now the problem-based learning, basically the core is the problem. So the job of the teacher is to bring to the students a problem. And this problem, but naturally, it has to be multidisciplinary. It has to be a problem of the real world. And once the problem has been stated, the teacher leaves it to the students to find solutions. Only facilitates or guides or helps them or gives them a little bit of support. So the structure, actually, I have not made a slide on it, but still I can, we think of a topic. Suppose if I'm a physics teacher, I have in mind that I have to teach them units and dimensions. Okay. And then my job is to go home and sit and think, what kind of scenario, what kind of problem, real world problem, I can pose to the students, wherein they will have to make use of this area, this topic. So the topic and the theme precede the problem. But then the method of teaching, the method of going about it, is that the teacher will state a scenario. Say the teacher goes to the class and says, suppose you are coming by car, and you have a police van is chasing you, and they stop you somewhere and they charge you for over speeding. Now you have to give arguments. You have to, how will you escape from that problem? You don't want to give any views because you believe that you have not oversped. How will you prove that you have not oversped? Or we can give them some other kind of, any kind of ill structured problem should be there. The crux here, the unique feature of problem based learning is that we give an ill structured problem, which has multiple solutions, and the students are divided in groups. 5 to 8 people you can put in a group, and then they brainstorm, they think कि ये कर सकते हैं, ये कर सकते हैं, ऐसे करेंगे, वैसे करेंगे. All kinds of ideas, all kinds of thoughts are to be welcomed. You have to allow them the freedom to go crazy. If you restrict them, if you judge them, then the idea of STEM, the idea of open-mindedness, or the idea of to be able to think out of the box, that is defeated. So the teacher has to be open. The teacher can just guide them. Well, if you're thinking in that direction, you can also think in that direction. And likewise, but through your problems, you are actually going to involve certain areas, certain curricular areas of your subject. So in the speeding example, vector, distance, you know, relative velocity, all this will be covered. In the problem of units and dimensions, you can talk of currency of a country or something like that. And then, you can, all I have to do as a teacher is to think of a scenario where that particular topic comes into play, and all that has to be learned about that problem, about that topic, is explored by the students on their own. So there is a scenario, there is the problem, The scenario comes in and the problem is stated. "Okay, this is the problem, you have to find a solution to this," and then the student's role is defined, that your role is to do this, and you find the solution to this problem. And then ultimately there is a culminating activity wherein the students will come up with their own solution to that problem. And these solutions can be different for the different groups. There is no one fixed solution. So the basic, the uniform, the distinctive feature of problem based learning is the first, the problem, which should be ill structured. It should not it should be related to the topic. It should be authentic and relevant, and it should be challenging to the students. It should be interesting to the students. And then you also have to make sure that the problem scenario gives scope for inquiry and exploration, and delving into that whole gamut. So this was about I think I have got some examples here. Yeah. So there can be a medical diagnostic project. For example, in a biology class, you can present a fictional patient, that there is a patient who has got, who feels as constant, headache on one side, and has this problem, and kind of all kinds of symptoms you can provide, thinking of what exactly you want them to think of. So and then you can ask them to propose a treatment, or ask them to tell what is the problem. you know for example, you can also think of something like, in a when we are trying to go transdisciplinary, we can think of a problem like, suppose there is an area in the on the globe where it rains in the day, and it is always, every single day there is rainfall, and it's hot and humid, and vegetation, you can describe the vegetation, that it is like that. I mean, I'm talking of equatorial forests. And then what kind of diseases, what kind of vaccinations do you propose for people living in those areas? So here they have a high fever and that kind of. In fact, we are all in equatorial forest these days. Everybody is falling ill with this strange kind of virus that is there. But I'm trying to tell you that you can think of some problem which will involve geography, biology, a little bit of medicine, everything together, and then the students will be diverted. They will keep on thinking, कि अगर ऐसा climate है तो which part of the globe it is. This kind of, if it has rainfall in the daytime, and if it is like that, so they will be applying their understanding, their knowledge of different disciplines, and they will think of the problem. The problem is not, it is not as crude or as simple as describe the climate of the equatorial region, or describe the vegetation of the equatorial region. All these years we have been taught in schools in that way. We have been taught to cram things without having so much as the, there was, in fact, when we were school students, there was not even a video, or something to show us that equatorial forest looks like this. All my life I was, I mean, I'm basically a chemistry student, and I was really interested in metallurgy. And all my life I thought that the Bessemer converter must be something small. But when I went to Bokaro steel plant, and I saw the massive converter, it was huge. I mean, that was the first time I realized why they say excursion is important in education. I had no clue, because the diagram was so small, and my teachers, they did taught me the chemistry, but they never gave me the other details of the plant, or of how this is being done in India. Nothing. So we were taught as students. Fortunately, we were still left with some gray matter to be able to think of STEM. But actually, we were taught in such a way that we were restricted to our disciplines, and not we could not cross over. It was too big a gap to be jumping from here. In fact, so much so that a person from inorganic chemistry will you cannot ask them to teach you organic chemistry. It was so compartmentalized, so such a narrow vision we had. Another example is the environment sustainability challenge. Is anyway, these are all examples. What we must remember here is the method of the pedagogy. The pedagogy focuses around an ill-structured problem. The first thing, that first and foremost, the job of the teacher is to go home and prepare. First of all, that here is the topic. This is the theme I have to teach. What real life problem can I pose to my students? You think of that, there are guidelines, there are different, of course, there is literature on how to think of those guidelines. Then you go to the class, you tell them, describe a scenario, a vivid scenario, you know Uh, all the inputs that they require for that, all the clues that they need will be given in that scenario. Once the scenario has been described, then you come to the problem, this is the problem. Now I want you, and then you tell them their job, I want you to find a solution to this problem. And then the job of the student starts, and the teacher will be by their side, facilitating, helping, giving them resources, giving direction. But no effort will have to be shunned or will have to be criticized. They will all be working in groups. I mean, you just have to close your eyes and imagine that kind of a scene, how involved and engaged the students will be in such a class, and where it is going to take them. Never in their life will they forget those lessons. Whereas the reality, what happens when we teach in the disciplinary ways, aaj exam diya hai, and tomorrow if there is another exam and somebody asks you what paper, what questions were there in the last exam, you will not remember. That is how much we retain. But this kind of experience, going teaching in this way, of course, definitely it is going to take way long to teach, but it is going to be enduring. It is going to remain with the students all their life. And in addition to the lesson of the subject that they get, they will also get lessons of life, lessons of resilience, lessons of problem solving, lessons of how to find solutions. A simple example, like if I don't allow my child to shop, if I don't give my child money to shop, कि नहीं ठीक है, I will buy for you. You wear this suits you. You buy. My child will never learn to shop. My child will never be confident enough that I like that shirt and I think it will suit me and let me buy. He or she will always be dependent on the parent. Will always go back and refer कि ये ले लें, ये ठीक है. This is going to be the problem all the time. But if you give the money, the child goes, commits a few mistakes, buys stupid shirts, it loses the color runs and the cloth tears, and so that is one experience, a bad experience, a really, really bad experience, losing money. Your hard-earned money went to drains. But it was a lifetime lesson for the child. Next time the child gets an opportunity to buy things, that child will know without your telling or describing or explaining or doing anything. The child will know where to go, how to buy, what questions to ask. कि इसका रंग तो नहीं निकलेगा, इसका कपड़ा मजबूत है कि नहीं, चार बार 5 बार वो बच्चा पूछेगा. तो ये हम क्या करते हैं, we don't give them problems. We are feeding them with solutions. We are feeding them with theory. They don't come across, very rarely, in very few subjects there is. If you just take a look at the examination papers, they are not actually real world problems. The knowledge that the child is supposed to retain is not put to use. Whereas in these pedagogies, when we are employing STEM, unless we do that, unless we actually make use of that opportunity, give them the opportunity to apply it, STEM is of no use. Technology, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, if they are separate, they are of no use. If they become STEM, if they are one, and if they are practiced, the pedagogy is changed. The teacher needs to understand. The teacher has to change. The teaching has to change. Otherwise, no matter, you can add things to this somewhere. There is also a STEAM. with arts also, you can do anything no matter what you do, unless the teacher changes, unless the methodology changes, unless the pedagogy changes, these things will not be of any use. So it is very important to be encouraging towards these pedagogies. If your student is trying out these pedagogies, um, chances are that we might say that no, you follow, in particularly in my discipline, I'm really sometimes I feel bad. We have got a set pattern for lesson plans, and most students are taught that lesson plan in their pedagogy classes. They are not taught how to go about doing things. We teach them ऐसे ये बनाना है, lesson plan में पहले ये फिर ये and then proceed with this. You start with introduction, do this. We don't leave scope for any experimentation. And what is more unfortunate is that if somebody is a bright enough teacher to go and experiment in the class, if a pupil teacher is confident enough to attempt something, we are the ones who put, we say कि ये क्यों किया, ये कैसे किया, this is not allowed, you are not supposed to ask such questions. We have got rigid rules for everything. This defeats the purpose. So not just the teaching, not just the pedagogy, the teacher educators also need to change, need to open their minds and understand that खाली बात करने या खाली स्लोगन बनाने से things will not change. We have to really open up and give freedom a chance. The freedom of thought, freedom of creativity, we have to give it a chance. Anyway, let me come to the next method now. It is a slightly different method, which we call the inquiry based learning. So the inquiry based learning is different from the problem based learning. Here, the core is not a problem. Here, the core is an idea which has to be thought about. Here, the teacher gives the problem. The teacher will not come up with a scenario. The teacher will say, I've got some example. Yeah, suppose if the teacher says ki, okay, what has been the contribution of ancient Indian mathematicians to the global mathematics scenario? Okay, so this is not transdisciplinary. Yes, this is transdisciplinary. Why not? But it's not in between science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But yes, it is an inquiry. You have given a purpose to the student now, and now you leave the student. Now don't dictate. The control, the tendency to control is one of the biggest ailments that we adults carry. Whether it is family, whether it is your workplace, or whether it is your teaching. So let go. That is more important. Let them explore. Our job is, I mean, you can say that if we let go, these students will go copy something and just come back with some ready-made stuff. But here your role comes in. You have to be there by their side and evaluate or ask them what progress they are making at each step and what work they have delegated to each team member. Unless this exercise is done, teamwork, keeping your interest behind, keeping the teams, this is an emotion that one needs to learn. Somebody working in isolation cannot have team spirit. And what we need for the future, we need team players. We need people who can get into group intelligence. We need that. So we need to give that a chance. We need to give them opportunities. In inquiry based learning, we give them something to inquire about. So the core here is not a ill structured problem. The core here is there is an idea that has to be researched. So the students will proceed with that those ideas, and they will inquire. For example, yeah, this is the historical inquiry in mathematics example. So they can be asked to research the contribution of ancient Indian mathematicians. So the idea is that this kind of method, it fosters curiosity and a deep understanding, and and it is recreating. It is different from the other run of the mill methodology that we use. Now, just imagine a lecture on about, I think there are more than 50. mathematicians historically whom we can talk about, who have made contributions to the modern mathematics today. And which method of teaching that, number one, which method is good, and number two, whether you are convinced that that should be done, whether there is a need to go there. Both. What is the purpose of talking about ancient Indian mathematicians? Number one, I'm indicating towards the NEP 2020, the purpose of Indian knowledge system. Everything is there. There is a purpose behind these things. It is important for students to know, because they need to find their places in the global scenario. So they should know. And then this is just one. We can ask them to inquire about anything. Uh, there can be n number of examples actually. For example, you can say in a science class, uh, instead of teaching rates of reaction, temperature, things, you can give them a problem. Okay, go find out how does temperature affect the chemical reactions. You can ask them to do it. So now they will have to sit down and think, okay, this is what we need to find out. So which reaction should we take? Then it will come to their minds कि see there are very rapid reactions. Rapid reaction तो कोई नहीं कर, slow reaction कोई लेना चाहिए हमको, जिसमें हम डिफरेंट टेम्परेचर्स पर उसका रेट ऑफ रिएक्शन मेजर कर सकें. रेट ऑफ रिएक्शन कैसे मेजर होगा, कौन सा इंस्ट्रूमेंट होगा, कन्वर्जन, इसका केमिकल रिएक्शन क्या हो रहा है. अच्छा, a base is being formed, so okay, we can titrate that base immediately. We can stop the reaction. How can you stop the reaction at a particular temperature? Stop it with ice, freeze the reaction, then go titrate it and see. So the minds will go, they will think. I remember we were fortunately, chemicals must have been cheap. We were given freedom to use as much as of anything as we wanted. So although in private colleges they may not have that freedom, but we were lucky. Broken test tubes, broken equipment, nothing, we were never fined. We had a very nice, very good time. And that because of that we experimented with things. We a lot of disasters happened and things happened, but we learned it the hard way. So one incident I remember where we were like we sodium metal, and sodium metal is always kept inside the kerosene, or it is never kept exposed to air. So like we were like consuming sodium like anything. We were doing experiments, preparing derivatives and things like that. And that whatever little sodium was kept outside was exhausted. So this thought came to one of us कि भाई somebody sees कि इतना sodium तुम लोगों ने क्या किया, type of question will be asked. So let us go ask for more sodium and refill this bottle. And so जैसे होता है lab assistant को कुछ दे दवा के, we were, but that now by mistake we did not realize that the bottle that we are going to put that sodium in is not filled with kerosene, it is filled with water. And I am still alive to tell you that I did not. But you can imagine the kind of explosion that happened. Putting sodium is kept in kerosene so that it doesn't come in contact with moisture of the air, because it may explode. And what we had done was we had actually picked up little bit of sodium. I mean, we had made sure it is a small quantity, because we wanted to tell them that we have done the experiment but we have not wasted sodium. It was a small quantity, but unfortunately, when it went unknowingly. We are all, people was standing, and we dropped it in a bottle of water, and boom, there was a loud noise. Okay. And we had to tell them the entire story कि ऐसे हुआ, ये खत्म हो गया. Then we were saying lab assistant was scolded, things happened. But then we had this, like, I can still see it. I can still imagine. I can just, it is there, it's like a vivid image in my mind. So this is just an example uh, of how, basically chemistry में तो हम लोग को केमिस्ट्री के प्रैक्टिकल्स का चार्ट भी मिलता है. इनफैक्ट कि अभी ये करो, ग्रुप 1 के लिए करो, ग्रुप 2 के लिए करो, एवरीथिंग, यू हैव अ होल थिंग. I'm not saying that chemistry is one subject which gives you a lot of freedom. I'm not advocating chemistry, but yes, a teacher can give them the freedom. The pedagogy can give them the freedom. The teacher can give them something to explore, give them experiments, give them ideas. Uh, see, anyway, let us proceed. I think I will run out of time if I start talking of chemistry because, uh, as you can see, your passion for your parent, your basic subject never dies. Yeah, so these are some features of, okay, yeah, this is the next third pedagogy. We have done problem based learning, we've done inquiry based learning. This is called project based learning. So here, uh, the work is given in the form of projects, and obviously this is a more comprehensive. It includes a lot of other things, and the students are given the job to find a solution. So this project can be making a robot, or something like that, something creative. So these are also, and depending on the class, depending on where you are, um, which level you are teaching, you can give them projects. So these ideas, we as teachers, it is our job to think of ideas um, to make. So I remember, well, that was not in school, that was in college. We had, our teacher had given us some idea. I mean, I'm not sure whether it was her own idea or something. You all know that, there is a reaction between H2S gas and silver salts. If you silver salt, silver nitrate, or anything, these are all colorless solutions. They don't write. So we had made a fortune teller, fortune teller kind of thing, wherein there were a lot of slips which did not have anything red on them, and people had to come and pick it up and dip it in a solution that we provided, and then read what was there on it. So this was again, this was in school way back when we did not know the chemistry, but our teacher had given us. So then we were supposed to explain how this is happening, and in order to explain, we had to study the chemical reaction that is going on. So silver nitrate and H2S gas dissolved in the water there reacted, and silver sulfide was formed, and that was black in color. So that was the reaction, and this was in class 7, I think, and we were asked to make this project. And we also made vanishing cream. We also made shoe polish. So I remember there were projects, though STEM was not there, but then the teacher, sometimes you are fortunate enough to find teachers who have got that inclination of letting you do things. And the science exhibitions and such things were quite frequent, and so this was one of those, and we made a fortune teller, and we also got some third prize or something for that. So it was basic, just one simple idea, one simple reaction, but then it was utilized into making this thing. So, and the other, other kind of thing कि your hidden box में से हाथ डाल के slip निकालिए, and then this इस solution में डालिए, ये सब वो और सब तामझाम हम लोगों ने अपना उसका dressing up हम लोगों ने किया था. And then the idea was, because it was a science exhibition, then we had to tell them the whole thing. That we had made charts, and we also showed them the reaction. So this kind of thing. And so needless to say that I knew how H2S will, how to test for sulfide radical anywhere, even before studying, even in class 7 8, because that part I was exposed, I was taught. So likewise, you can give them small or big projects depending on the level where you are, but give them the ideas, give them the project, give them the opportunity. That is more important. So the fact of the matter is that we need to give them the freedom and the convenience and the resources. We need to be patient with them, and we need to let the magic work. So, yeah, this is the robotics project slide. I was talking of it just a few minutes back. And the eco-friendly school initiative is also there. In a middle school setting, students can collaborate on an initiative to make the school more environment friendly. So this, you can say that you find out how you can save energy, what changes you want to bring about, where there is loss of energy, find it, report it, prepare your proposal, and tell us, and we will implement it. So where So then they will have to get into the, where solar panels can be installed. Then they'll have to find out how much the cost of installation will be, how long it will last, what is the comparative cost benefit of this. So a lot of inputs from other areas, they will go talk, explore, find out. So next time, whenever in life the child has to get into this role of deciding which kind of energy resource he or she wants, she will be able to think on the correct line. She will know where to find. She will be a problem solver, a creative mind. So these are the project based learning methods. So we can just recap of the three broad methods. The first one and the best one to me is the problem based learning, where the main core is the beginning, or the seed is the problem. First, a scenario is described, the problem is described, the problem, and then the student is given, okay, you find the solution to this problem. In inquiry based learning, we give them a researchable problem. We tell them this is the problem. We don't give them a scenario. It is more structured, and then they go and explore that problem. Their curiosity runs, and they go and explore. In the project based learning, we give them projects. At the rest of the things, they decide, they find, they explore, they come up with solutions. And then, so these are not very distinct bound, they are not very different from each other. But yes, inquiry will need more of inquiry. Project based will need to be functioning more as a in activities. So these are three. Then we also have this flipped classroom model. Flipped classroom model is popular, especially after the online, the online phase of the pandemic. And in fact, I just realized that I unknowingly, when I did not even know that this is the flipped classroom model, I was doing it. Um, and even now, sometimes when I think that I need a basic recap of things before I get into it. For example, the other day I had to teach them chi-square test. And so I was thinking, instead of like they keep making the mistakes actually, students in whenever we are teaching in the lecture method particularly, you cannot be sure how much is getting in, where they are. But when you give them a video, when you give them some material to study on their own, they cannot evade that. So what I did was, I asked them to watch the three videos by that Khan Academy videos on chi-square test. First of all, about the shape of the chi-square, and then about the four videos in fact. And they were just 5 to 6 minute videos. So about half an hour to 1 hour, a student would have required. And then I said, we will discuss this in class. I'm not going to teach you chi-square test. And this is PhD level students. So they watched the video, and came back to the class ready for the discussion. On my part, I went with problems. I went with different kinds of, wherever chi-square can be used, where it cannot be used. And then that was how we proceeded. I read out the problem, and I asked. In fact, I did not even read. I sent the problems on the WhatsApp group. See, chalo, let us discuss problem number one. And the problem number one was where chi-square could not be used. So because they had seen that video, they knew. So somebody raises the hand. Generally, when the teacher says ki yahan chi-square lagaiye, they will sit down to apply it. But because they had seen that video, they knew what are the assumptions of chi-square. They said ki ma'am, agar yahan to ye nahi hai, yahan pe to nahi lagega. So that was my purpose. The whole idea of teaching them chi-square is not how to solve the arithmetic of chi-square, but the idea is to teach them where to apply chi-square and when to apply that test. I'm deviating a little bit. I'm just for the sake of an example of a flipped classroom, I'm giving you this example. But then that served my purpose. My purpose was to empower them enough so that they have the ability to know from the data that this is the problem, and I need to apply this statistical test here, and I cannot apply this test, but I can apply this test. That kind of insight, that kind of knowledge, I want. That was my goal. But if I go there and teach them that there are three kinds of chi-square, this, and this, goodness of weight, homogeneity, independence, some of them may retain it, Some of them find it interesting, but many of them may not. Just, it may, every time they will need to go back, look into their notes and all. But having done that, that becomes crystal clear to their minds. So flipped classroom model is about teaching being done by the student on his own, getting the, because after, say, I think after class 8 or 9, class 8, 9 onwards, we have the ability to read and understand, and we can teach ourselves. You don't need a teacher. In fact, teacher is there to retain your interest, to keep you motivated, to keep you pumped. It is like anybody's job. You can just, it is simple. If you are good in language, you can read the language, find out. Yeah, of course there are some conceptual things which you need somebody to explain to you, but that explanation that other person can do, understanding you have to do. So if you are ready, if you are prepared to understand, only then you can understand. And unless you understand, you cannot apply. So as a teacher, I cannot guarantee that somebody will understand. All I can guarantee is that I will explain. So we have got our hands tied. We have to. That is why we need to go to pedagogies which actually give results, which are actually working. Especially in this age of the post millennials. What are they called? I don't know which generation they are called. They easily get distracted. It's very difficult to keep them focused and interested, and they have got access to more information than we ever had. We were dependent on books. They've got smartphones. They can look up anything. The minute you say something which they doubt, they can check it up and judge you on that. So in this generation, the challenges faced by the teachers are also manifold, and it is important that the teacher actually outsmarts the students by posing problems which are genuine. So here again, you give them some video, or even if I give them some hands-on material to read and study on their own and come prepared for discussion, the preparation for discussion will be different, and the level of discussions will be different. Uh, but if you teach first and then give the handout, it becomes the other way. So flipped classroom would mean that the handouts, the material, information is given beforehand. I hope I am still on. I've been going on bantering without any sound from anyone else. Can I have a confirmation from somebody, Dr. Raj?
Yes, ma'am. We are.
मेरा सुनाई दे हाँ चल रहा है ना?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, it
yes,
is
ma'am.
very good.
You're audible.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
thank you, thank you.
Very nice
I have
presentation,
been
ma'am.
fear that I've been talking to myself, maybe.
No, ma'am. It's very
Okay,
informative.
okay. Thank you. So this was a flipped classroom model. I think you can go ahead with the next one. Uh, yeah, there are some examples: mathematical tutorial videos, language learning. But my chi-square example works better. I think I should have kept it there. Okay, then we come to the gamification, games. So so far, exploration was fun. Being responsible for your own learning was fun, but games are fun beyond all these. And like especially the kind of games that are here. So STEM makes use of this feature also. Games are used to, you know, captivate the students and divert and push them, propel them towards learning. So gamification is also a feature. I think I have got example for yeah. You can think of there was some game which taught principles of economics. I can't recall the name, but then you've got science labs, with the um, a lot of games are there which you learn the principles by, in a very fun way, in a very interesting and fun way, and you are uh, you don't even realize that you have acquired so much knowledge. So it is not it's not a burden, or it's not cumbersome, it is very it's enjoyable, engaging, and students are motivated, and it is retained because it is so much fun to go about it. So yeah, so maths gamification, maths teacher can incorporate apps और गेम्स that challenge students to जैसे Kahoot में ये मैंने देखा था, there were some quizzes in geometry and things where they it was like through a game you could go there. Then also the virtual science labs, you can instead of doing the real the real explosion with sodium, you can do virtual experiments, and without any wastage of things you can do precise experiments, so that is also fun. So gamification, more insight is needed, more resources are needed, so it is not within the it is not easy for a teacher to incorporate these things. But yes, the other methods, the other four, are easy to incorporate. You can think of a problem scenario that is up to your ability, and you can use problem based learning, inquiry based learning, project based learning, and also flip card flip sorry, flip classroom. So flipped classroom is also a very nice way. It works. I have seen it works because students are, they, the fear that I have to perform in the class the day after I may be asked questions leads them to two decisions: either they don't come to the class, or they come to the class prepared. So if you've got if they have had a good experience in your class where you have not judged them for not being prepared enough, and if they have enjoyed the class, normally the absenteeism recedes. They don't be absent, they come prepared, they come ready. Otherwise, and if they have not come prepared, they can say, ma'am, not today, we have not been able to see, something like that. So that much freedom, that much rapport you need to have with your students, because the humiliating the student is not the idea. The idea is that you be equipped, as well equipped as I am, and now we, as grown-ups, as like-minded people at the same level, we are going to discuss this problem and understand what is to be understood. So those four methods by far, they are simpler and easier to use. They require less resources, and they only need a little bit of the teacher's intelligence and teacher's ability to devise those ideas. But these are based on technology. In fact, the next one also is totally augmented technology based thing. It has got its own advantage. Technology integration is the last method that I want to talk of. So yeah, there is a software by MIT, scratch.mit. Something edu, that is available, and there you can they create animations, they create projects, like you don't need to learn programming, but you can do a lot of designing. You can create animations, you can create sound, everything. So it it can be used by youngsters, people who have no clue of any kind of coding, any kind of programming language, who are new to that area, can also use Scratch. And Scratch is free, it's downloadable, or it is available on the platform. Either way, Scratch from MIT is a good platform, so I thought of including this here. Children can be taught, this is one kind of technology integration other than the gamification. If you can, Kahoot is available, anybody can use, but others may not be available. I mean, actually, personally, I have not explored that so much, so I know of this. We can use also, if you have used Canva, you just write the text, so, to describe a scenario. Making teaching aid will be so much easier. All you have to do is to write the text. I want a scene like this in pastel colors, wearing a sari, doing this, doing that, and the image is created. So that is fun, and that is like so that kind of technology integration is also good. But these are not independent methodologies in themselves. They can be used. Technology integration can be incorporated. For example, this virtual reality, you know, glasses or headsets that you get. They create the sound, they create the visuals, and so I've given you the example of the rainforest, but I would have loved to have had the opportunity to see the steel plant or to see the metal furnace, and to an insight into, you know, what that means. For example, unless we see sub-zero temperatures, when somebody says temperature there was 5 - 5, what does it mean to us? Because unless we have been there, we have experienced it, we don't know. And if we can't, in fact, -5, -4, -3, everything feels the same. Our bodies are not made to measure differences कि भाई -1 पे ये होगा, -5 पे ये होगा, ऐसा नहीं, पता नहीं चलता है. लेकिन हाँ, -27 degrees जब हो जाएगा, then you will know ना. Then you will feel it freezing your skin, or wherever, whatever is exposed, you can make out. So nobody, I mean, none of us will have that experience in life. We will not experience space in our lives. We will not get to go to Mars, but we can have those augmented reality things. We can have virtual realities wherein you get that experience, that feeling, like 3D 4D movies, जिसमें हिला हिला के पानी मार क्या क्या होता है, उस तरह का एक ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी का एक वो तो हो सकता है ना. पीपल कैन वेयर दोस थिंग, हैव द साउंड, एंड देन just be there, and then just you have to let loose of your imagination and experience it. Get to see what it is like in the blast, near the blast furnace. Get to see what happens in the cement factory. Get to see what happens in the rainforest. All kinds of things. Get to see how pollination occurs, how they all these things they can. So these experiences, these are all supplementary support system, of course, but if we teach science in this way, giving them that kind of experience instead of going by the lecture method or the conventional method or the in single discipline method, these will have more, they will be retained better, and students will be they will have more to uh, more enjoyable and more fun. So technology integration is also, I think I've spoken about 6 pedagogies so far, and all these 6 are my favorites in the same hierarchy. Barring this one, I think gamification is the last one. It could have come further down, but my most favorite is the problem, because that really works, and it is so much fun to see the students think like grown-ups. You can watch them come up with various solutions, all kinds of solutions. Problem-based learning is unmatched, and then inquiry-based learning is more focused. You give them a problem, they think about it, they explore it, they research it, they learn how to research, where to find things. That is also important. That's also fun loving. Project-based learning means they have a project in mind and they develop something. It is creativity. Then the next one was flipped classroom. Flipped classroom again prepares you better. The students are they've got more readiness and more. They're likely to be engaged more because they have already spent some time going through, and they it doesn't go above their heads. They don't fall blank. They can understand what is going on. So that is how flipped classroom is a good one. Then technology integration, of course, yes, if we have the resources. In fact, this is not difficult to have these resources anymore. We are well equipped. We've got so many platforms. In fact, so many. There must be others where this is possible. And if not possible, then very soon AI is going to make it possible. You only have to describe a scenario and it will recreate a video or a virtual scene of a rainforest or mangroves or peak of the Himalayas or things like that. Anything where whatever is inaccessible, solar eclipse. If that experience that we had, like total solar eclipse, तो नहीं देखा है, of course, but I remember having that. I think it was how many years back, 2025, but it is still vivid in my mind. I can still recall it. That was the real experience. But if I had been at a place where there was total solar eclipse, where this solar ring was there, and I mean, from broad daylight to gradually, and then it becomes pitch dark, and then it again becomes. I mean, that kind of experience is like amazing. I think. What I remember is, I remember making a pinhole camera for my children because those days they were telling ki if you make the box and with a hole and then the image they see they can. But every time so what when I made it finally, it was showing a a weird kind of circle. It was like I didn't realize that that solar eclipse had already started. So I felt that the hole that I have pricked is not round enough. So then I made another one. But every time we could see that the image is coming in a semicircular, that kind of shape. And gradually, and then suddenly at that time, all the birds started chirping and they all started going to the, जैसे शाम को लौटती हैं तो उनको ये लगा कि ये शाम हो गई है और सारी चिड़िया अपने अपने जल्दी जल्दी अपने बहुत साउंड बहुत आ रहा था, चिड़िया चहचहा रही थी और सब अपने अपने पेड़ों के पास अपने अपने उसमें आने लग गई. एंड देन सडनली इट वाज लाइक यू कुड मेक आउट दैट देयर इज समथिंग. And after that, and then it was slightly dark. We were in Banaras, so of course we did not see pitch darkness, we saw it only on TV. But I just like the thought that this experience we can or we can teach solar eclipse by showing them the experience that now wait, it's going to come there, now we are there, we are all there, now see the diamond ring, now the moon is moving away and so the sun can be seen now gradually is going off. So those few seconds, for few minutes, if somebody can experience it virtually, it will be close to the real experience. Of course you can, and with the help of AI, you can have all the sound effects, you can have the birds and the animals and uneasiness of the animals, and because they were all confused, they were all in a state of confusion. So those things can be created and then that experience can be given. It is one matter that we can talk about it. It is another matter that we can actually provide it. Probably IUCT should be the pioneer in this direction. Work on your, get an AI expert, get to do these things, prepare some plans for this. So I leave it to you and your team. And let me see what else I have. I still have 8 more slides. I don't know why. What else I have got here? Let me see.
Okay, ma'am.
Inclusivity, when you give examples, because India is a very diverse country. There are all kinds of people from all backgrounds, students from all kinds of socioeconomic strata and all kinds of backgrounds. So whenever we get into this, we need to remember that the role models should be from diverse backgrounds, and none of the none of the students should feel that they have been they are marginalized or they are isolated, or so it should be all inclusive. And the instruction or the whatever you do, it should also be diverse. It should be made for all levels of students. So this thing we should keep in mind before we use STEM. Yes, I think I'm done.
Thank you,
There's
ma'am.
no yeah.
So, yeah. Now the talk is open
Now the
and
talk
we
is
can
open
have a few
and we can
questions.
have a few questions.
Yeah.
So, please, Prasant ji, please.
Good
Good
afternoon, ma'am.
afternoon, Krishnan ji.
It's Prashant Jain from Allahabad, ma'am. You have discussed about the virtual labs,
Yeah.
ma'am. I am also using virtual labs. I am from bioinformatics background.
Okay.
I am also using virtual labs to teach my students. But my question is, if we are teaching through the virtual labs, not regarding my subject only, with other engineering subjects also, if we are using only the virtual labs,
Right.
if we adapt only the virtual labs or help them, so what's the feasibility if the students passed his graduation by using the virtual labs? What will he get in the real market if he goes to join a company where he has to make a bridge or whatever the things in the real market?
Well,
What will be his scenario?
honestly, Prashant ji, I never got that experience, excepting watching a one or two 4D movies, where I got a clue ki what it must be like. I have never used virtual lab. You are the expert in this field. You must share your inhibitions, what you think. I
Ma'am,
am
I
not
am
a
yes, ma'am, I am using it and I am
yeah,
facing the same problem.
yeah.
That's why I asked you. if I give practicals on the virtual lab,
Hmm.
they are confident enough to
Okay.
do that. There is a procedure and all the things they do. But the same problem, if I give them in examinations, they are not able to handle that.
Obviously,
That's
so
my
that
concern.
means not everything can
So
be
if
confined
they are
to.
passed away,
Hmm.
if they pass
Hmm.
their graduation and go to the companies and get the placement,
Hmm.
what will be the scenario?
Yeah, definitely they'll be in a fix. If so, we need to think about it. How to make sure that. So probably we are again talking in terms of the unidiscipline, single discipline thing. The idea is to integrate these labs, these things into so that they can think beyond. They are not कोई भी method है, but whichever method we are using, if it is just that the exposure is just one method, then virtual labs also become as meaningless as just lecture method. You know, we need to have a variety. We need to give them exposure to all kinds of. That's
That's it.
what I can
That,
think of actually.
that's it.
क्योंकि प्रैक्टिकल हैंड्स ऑन तो करना ही जरूरी है, नहीं करेंगे तो
That's it.
फिर व्हाट इज द
That's it.
पॉइंट.
That's it. That's it. Thank you.
बट यस
हेलो.
फॉर दोज थिंग्स दैट कैन नॉट बी एक्सेस, वेयर जो नहीं हो सकता है, जहाँ नहीं कर सकते हैं, वो
हाँ
चीजें तो
जहाँ नहीं
हम
कर सकते
एक्सपोजर
हैं,
दे ही सकते हैं ना,
there
जो
we
जो
can
नहीं
help,
देखने मिल रहा है.
there we can
There we
help.
can do. For example, fission reaction, fusion reaction, these things we cannot show them. Stepwise, if you show, or even if you talk of reaction mechanisms in chemistry,
Yeah.
imagining hybridization happening, what happens when nucleophile approaches, what happens when an electrophile, those things, if they are shown virtually, then just talking in terms of orbital change होता है, ऐसे होता है, वैसे होता है, उससे आसान, उससे अच्छा हो सकता है. So there are definitely plus points where we can make use of these things, but
Yes, ma'am. Both pros and cons are there, sir.
but we have to ensure that they are actually market value
Test.
material. They are not
Well trained.
useless.
Well trained. Thank you.
Any other question?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Right.
You have mentioned 6 different pedagogical approaches.
Yeah.
So, which one you find the most practical as well as effective for teaching the STEM courses?
See, your question, if it is about my favorite, I have left no doubt about which is my favorite. But the most viable one, if you are asking, then the most
Yes.
viable one is, I think, inquiry-based model, inquiry-based learning. Where
And
you
why,
get,
ma'am?
that is because we have to find a balance between the time we have in our hands and the time we can give to the student and the outcome of that. So if you try to teach subjects based on problem based learning, which is my favorite actually, it is going to take too long. But if you go by the inquiry based learning pedagogy, then it is a balance between the time and the effort and the outcome. That is why I think I would say inquiry based learning is time wise, saves you time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Dr. Maumita, you can.
So participants are also online, or everybody's offline here in Banaras?
No, we are
Everyone is
online.
online.
Everybody's
Everybody.
online. Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, namaste. I'm also from BHU. I teach at Mahila Mahavidyalaya.
Okay.
And my question was, there are two parts. First is, do you have any online resource where we can get more ideas of such problem creation? Because we are so used to the old method of teaching. I really can't. I mean, when you are giving examples, then I can understand. But basically from geology can't be done as an experiment or something. But
You are
there
from
are
geology?
yes, yes, ma'am. And
GEO.
yes, ma'am. GEO.
My God,
Geology.
geology is well. Let me tell you, my husband was from geology, and geology is one subject which which will give you opportunities for. You should collaborate with Dr. Prashant Ankur, and you can think of so many things.
Yes,
Uh,
I just want to know if there are any online resources available for those kind of stuff. Because
well,
like
I have
we
not
need
explored for geology per se, but
not
yes,
geology for any all branches of science. Maybe there
see,
will be somewhere for
animation you can
geology
make on
also.
Canva, you can make on Scratch. There you can make. You
So
just have
we
to
ask
say
the
the word.
students to make. We ask the students to
You
make.
can ask them to make. Yes.
Okay. So
Mm.
Ma'am,
that is
can I add something in the
Yes.
answer
Yes.
question of Mamita, ma'am?
Yes. Please.
Ma'am, they are like for specific, not for geology, I will say, but studying about the earth science, there are sources like Bhuvan is the project where you can find out the like जो भी हमारे अर्थ पे जितनी भी रिवर्स और जैसा भी लैंड वो सब कुछ है उसके बारे में एक भुवन करके एक वेबसाइट है यू कैन एक्सप्लोर दैट एंड सोशल साइंसेस में जोग्राफी के लिए एक स्टेडेलियम करके देयर इज अ प्लेटफॉर्म और उसकी एक मोबाइल ऐप भी है दैट यू कैन एक्सप्लोर एक वन मोर इज देयर जे आई टू शेयर इन द ग्रुप आई थिंक ठीक है तो दो तो है स्टेडेलियम और भुवन ये इसमें आप यूज़ कर सकते हैं थैंक यू मैम
thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
geology is being taught at Mahila Mahavidyalaya also.
It started a few years ago. It started, I mean, I got my job in 2017. I've been teaching since 2018. The first batch started in 2018. So it's a very
18.
new
Okay.
section, and we have been doing exceptionally well, which I'm very proud to say.
See,
But
geology is
I
very
need
popular among girls
Yes.
these days.
I
Yeah.
I need to learn more techniques. I just want to be a better teacher. I want to perform better. Ma'am, the second question is,
Well,
although today these days, I mean, we are talking of pedagogies and different. This is a step backward in the teaching methodology. Uh, Traditionally, teachers have been using the blackboard and chalk, and these days we use the slides, the PowerPoint slides. But the first few years it was very easy that I'm putting up slides, this, that. Actually, I'll just take a few minutes. When I first started, this is a new section, it did not have the infrastructure. So I was teaching with the blackboard and chalk. Eventually, we had every thing in place, and I started teaching with slides. And what I felt is the blackboard method was a better way of teaching. So, I mean, I am just asking. We want to introduce technology into everything, but sometimes our older methods are better. I mean, the blackboard method gave them time to understand the concept versus when I'm showing them slides, I'm going too fast. That's what I feel. Or
yeah.
maybe the students are not copying the diagrams right away. They feel that, okay, those diagrams are there, we can get it later, something like that. So, I mean, what is your opinion upon it? On this?
Yeah, I've got a lot to say on this because personally, my PhD work started when there was no Windows, no PowerPoint. And then midway in my work, my supervisor, came back with 17 floppies of a program which was called ये PowerPoint है इसमें बहुत अच्छा बनता है ये वो चलो. So my journey with PowerPoint started when PowerPoint was born, actually, and now PowerPoint is a Buddha, and there have been talk of PowerPoint poisoning and boredom because of PowerPoint. That is not because of PowerPoint so much as it is because of the slides that we prepare. First thing, because we generally, if you see 90% people, I'm not talking of you, Moshmi, Dr. Moshmi, I'm talking of generally, if you see, people don't have the knack of making good PowerPoint presentations. And I have been saying this to my students, and I have been trying to reform it, but to no success, because the tendency is to copy from word bits of information and to create slides. A slide is not for reading. If you expect a student to sit in the class, listen to you, read the slide, copy the diagram, this is too much of a burden. So either there should be a diagram and the diagram should be discussed, and the assurance should be there that this diagram will come to me eventually through the PowerPoint, and the discussion is hands-on or spontaneous. There is nothing in this world that can beat a spontaneous class. A teacher teaching on his own. That is the most wonderful thing for the teacher and for the student. No ICT can match that. No ICT can match that. And I'm saying because I'm a cousin of PowerPoint, our journey has been together. I'm like, I have made use of it. I have made use of it. I know. And unfortunately we put the blame entirely on PowerPoint, but PowerPoint की उतनी गलती नहीं है जितनी बनाने वाले की है. हम लोग जो है ना, मतलब हम पावर पॉइंट को समझते हैं कि पावर पॉइंट इज ओनली फॉर ग्राफिक्स. गिव द ग्राफिक्स, डोंट गिव टेक्सचुअल मटेरियल, because a graphic you can see and take your eyes off. You can, you see a scenery, but if you describe a scenery, there is a hut, there is a tree, there is a well, there is a river, then you have to read that text. So minimum text should be there. So that mistake we all do, and number of slides करने के लिए या कुछ करने के लिए हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा स्लाइड में लोड डाल देते हैं. और फिर हमें भी तो एक तीन चीजों को हम जब हम स्पॉन्टेनियसली पढ़ाते हैं, then we are facing the class, we are having a good time, 150 people listening to you, and you are in your mood and things keep coming to you. When you have got the support of a PowerPoint presentation, you don't retain it so much. You have a tendency to rely on it. My teacher has taught me never to go with a note. I think Gaurav ji, राठौर सर ने ये कहा था हम लोगों से. गौरव के मुझे एक thumbnail दिख रहा है, he's there, I think. He said that if you want to be a good teacher, his teacher had told him never to go with a note. Go well prepared to your class and teach spontaneously. Don't depend on slips or cards or anything. So if that is the level of preparation, PowerPoint should only be there to supplement it. कि हम diagram बनाने में time waste ना करें. Here is the image. Look at the image. This is a scene from a geology का है. ये tectonic plate है, ये mineral का cross section है. ये वो बनाने में time ना लगे. लेकिन उसमें भी a good geography teacher or a good geology teacher will take 2 minutes to just draw the main things. So blackboard में वो अच्छी बात है. I am a firm believer of that. It is. I enjoyed the session myself, and thank you so much for the interaction.